Yo, what up, it's your boy, DJ Sterling, and we're back with another video. Today, we're going to be looking at the differences between the Pioneer XDJ-RX2 and the Denon Prime 4. I know that there's already a lot of reviews out there comparing these two controllers. However, after using these for such a long time, I'm going to give you my personal opinion on what I think about these two controllers. So up top, we have the Pioneer XDJ-RX2. This controller came out around September of 2017. Down here, the Denon Prime 4 released around January of 2019. So this controller is much newer. I got these controllers about 2 or 3 months apart. In fact, right after ordering the Pioneer XDJ-RX2, I heard about this wonderful Denon 4-channel mixer coming out. I tried to buy it and it was out of stock everywhere. So I had to order it, wait for the back stock to come through, and that took a couple of months. So I've got both of these controllers plugged up, and let's go ahead and start them both up at the same time. Okay, so almost the same time. So another thing on the Denon Prime 4 that I always complain about are these jog wheels, and I have seen some comments below talking about the newer Prime 4 controllers where they fix this issue where it doesn't just spin so crazy. I prefer the RX2, the way it feels to the touch on the outside of the wheel. The motion, I like it much more than the Prime 4. I would like to see if there's a way to tighten this up. You can probably send it back to get it serviced. I don't want to do all of that. I'm sure it'll be gone for a long time. But maybe if there's some hack where I can lift some screws and just tighten something, let me know in the comments below if you know a way to easily tighten these jog wheels. Maybe I'll give it a try. So another great feature about the Prime 4 is it's a 4-channel controller. Decks 1 and 3 are here on the left, 2 and 4 here on the right, and it's cool. You can go into the screen here and you can actually change all of the different colors to whatever you like. I might have changed the purple, I don't remember. Maybe it was green and blue by default. Denon loves the green and blue on black, and that's a great color too. On the RX2, nothing's really customizable like that. You have these performance pads, and when you go to program them using Rekordbox, then you can set the colors and actually use that feature. Sometimes I'll set the first 2 hotkeys to mark the intro, and depending on the color, that'll tell me ahead of time if it's like an 8-bar or 16-bar intro, and just some stuff like that where if I'm going through a long set, it's just help, you know. And I like to set this hotkey for like an early mix-out opportunity and the last for an outro, and a lot of times I'll make that a specific color too. And there's really no rule about how to do that kind of stuff. How you use your hotkeys is part of your workflow, and that's something you as a DJ have to develop. Even though this controller is 4-channel, I actually don't use all 4 channels. A lot of times I'll use 2 channels, a left and right, and I'll use a 3rd channel to just do effects. I'll use the 3rd channel as like a sampler kit. I'll load up some audio track that has, you can watch some of my other videos to find out how I do this, but I set a track with a bunch of drops and sound effects, and I hot cue everything up, and then as I'm playing a song, I can switch over to that deck, trigger a sound effect, and then go back and then do a transition or whatever I need to do. And so having a 4th channel does give you flexibility, but for the most part, I'm just playing with 2 channels. I don't get too crazy into my mixes where, you know, some house sets, they really break down the different components of a song, where you'll have just a drum pattern going, and then maybe some vocals, and then maybe, you know, just different layers. And I'm not really there right now. That's not really what I'm doing with my music. So something else I want to touch on are the difference in the touchscreens. The Denon Prime 4 has a 10-inch touchscreen. It's very responsive to touch, just like a cell phone would be. And the user interface is very intuitive. This really is your tablet or laptop for the controller. You can do so much through here. There are actually very few buttons that are not built into the screen, such as this view button down here. If you press and hold, that gets you to like a menu. Other than that, there's not a whole lot. You have an encoder knob that you can twist here, but you don't have to, because the touchscreen is big enough and the buttons are responsive enough to actually use the touchscreen, which is really nice. You can do everything you need in the touchscreen. It's kind of like a Tesla of a controller. I really enjoy using this touchscreen. So the Pioneer controller is actually a little bit different. It is a touchscreen. It's a 7-inch touchscreen across the diagonal, but you actually don't need to do a whole lot of touching to use it. Just like the Denon Prime 4, you have this encoder knob, you have a shortcut to load left, load right onto these decks. Those are buttons you'll use all the time. This browse, you'll use all the time. These are your sources, which you probably won't touch all that often. You kind of put in a thumb drive, you press a button. If you have a laptop or a phone hooked up and you're running rekordbox from there, you would hit the rekordbox button. And then besides that, like I'll hit info a couple of times to show me BPM. And then there's the touchscreen, which you really don't use much. The only things I really use the touchscreen, like I said, is if I'm searching for a track and I need the QWERTY keyboard, I'll use the touchscreen, which is kind of like mushy. It's not like a hard touchscreen surface like a cell phone. It's like a really weird kind of mushy feel, and there's not much to do in the actual touchscreen as far as the UI goes. So it's kind of hard to tell because the Prime 4 is in a case, but the Prime 4 is actually a much larger controller than the RX2. It's wider, it's heavier, it's got more depth. So I often set up the Prime 4 in its case and on this workbench that I use for a DJ table, and I often don't touch it. I leave it there because it's so large and heavy. And so I don't gig with any of the Denon gear. However, I'm looking forward to the Denon Prime Go. That should be the first controller to replace what I do gig with, which is my Pioneer XDJ-400. That is like my bread and butter controller. I love that I can connect it to a laptop or a desktop. I can curate a set, I can do all the pre-processing with the hot cues and the drops, program everything how I'd like, and then go take that same controller out with the laptop and go play. However, with a controller like this, you actually don't need to do any of that. I can literally take a USB thumb drive from my computer with a bunch of music on it. I can put it right into this controller, and the Denon Prime has enough processing power in it to actually do the analysis on the fly, so you don't need to ever hook this up to a computer to do anything. Once you have music onto a thumb drive or an SD card, you can stick it right into this controller, do all of the analysis, and then do your pre-processing right here on the controller. On the XDJ-RX2, that's not the case. If you want to play music on the RX2, you have to put all of your music through the rekordbox software to be analyzed first, and then you have to export it to a thumb drive, and then you can stick the thumb drive into the controller. So back to the comparison of the features, which controller should I get, yada yada. I'll quickly talk a little bit more about some of those things. When I first bought the XDJ-RX2, I paid the exact same price that I paid for the Denon Prime 4, which was $16.99. Now note that they do have different prices now. I think the Prime 4 is actually $17.99 right now, and the XDJ-RX2 has actually gone down to $1,400 something dollars. And so these controllers were very similar when they came out in price. Now both controllers are going to have very similar layouts. You have your jog wheel with all your performance settings, your mixer, and then another jog wheel. That's going to be the exact same thing for the RX2. You're going to have your tablet in the center, which is touchscreen on both of them. Both of them are going to give you a cue and a play button, 8 performance pads, a nice tall tempo fader. They're both going to have some master tempo, reverse. All these features are going to be the same. I think the RX2 might only give you a single effects channel, while the Denon Prime will give you 2, which is really nice. You have the effects channel 1 set here in this row. These are the mic settings, and then here is effects channel 2. So back to the question, assume both of these controllers cost the same amount and you had to pick one. Which one should you get? So here's how you should determine that. If you're a club DJ and you prefer the consistency of a Nexus 2 CDJ, you might prefer the Pioneer XDJ-RX2. That controller is going to feel exactly like a Nexus 2 setup. If you are a wedding or gig DJ, you need to take requests, or you just enjoy the latest and greatest features and you don't care so much about the consistency of a CDJ, then you might actually prefer the Denon Prime 4. Some of the benefits the Prime 4 has are the 2 additional channels, making it a 4-channel controller. You have the built-in Wi-Fi, which enables Tidal, I think Beatport, and maybe even some other streaming services by now, which is great. The only downside is you're able to get trials with those, but after that you have to start paying for those subscriptions in order to use them with your controller. It'd be nice if there were some way to purchase the Prime 4 and get some sort of discount or some sort of pool subscription where you can access each of those for like a cheaper fee. Another thing you might like about the Prime 4 is how you can customize different things, like the lights. A lot of people love when they perform on YouTube to put their DJ logo inside of the jog wheels. That's a very nice touch. Another really great feature of the Prime 4 is the internal storage space. You can purchase a 2.5-inch, preferably solid-state hard drive, and there's a spot under the controller to put that and plug that up through SATA 2, and now your controller has built-in storage where you can put terabytes of music. You can store your probably entire collection. I know I can. I don't have that much music actually. You can store your entire collection inside the controller and take it with you wherever you go. Keep in mind you still should always do a backup of that internal hard drive just in case something goes corrupt. The software is not perfect. The Denon Prime 4 or the engine software uses a backend database. I think it's just SQLite to manage all the metadata about the songs that sometimes goes corrupt, especially if you are doing something and you disrupt it. Maybe you shut it down, or you put a USB thumb drive in there and maybe it's syncing something and you pull it and you risk errors. So always back up your collection all the time, especially when you take all that time to go through and set these hot cues and correct the beat grid. All this pre-processing work takes a lot of time and effort, so do a good job of maintaining your backups. So if I had the choice, I could only buy the RX2 or the Prime 4, what would I buy? I would buy the Prime 4. Thanks for watching. I'm DJ Sterling. See y'all next time. Peace.